Hi everyone, I am doing this video podcast series, and I'm starting it off with a guest that has not only like supported me just out of the blue without like basically out of the kindness out of her own heart, and it just felt right for her to be starting off my podcast series about mental health, just normalizing anything to do with mental health in regards to like the nitty gritty, and just having like a good rapport and like a stream of consciousness, and just picking each other's brains, and just showing that we all do feel the same emotions, even if we've grown and lived different lives. So my first guest on Loving Me and Loving You is Ruby Fiera. She is a webcam model and a YouTube content creator. She has garnered over 119,000 followers on Chaturbate and counting, and she does pole dancing, and on YouTube she has over 8,000 subscribers and a total view of 7,400 views and like counting, and that's how I discovered her, from YouTube. Without further ado, hi Ruby Fiera.
Hi. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction.
Absolutely fine. Hi. I just wanted to like, again, thank you. I know I did it off camera, but like thank you for your time, because I know it nowadays, like in like business terms and like crap like that, time is money. So I understand like you like giving me that time. It means the world to me. And I just wanted to say, first of all, how are you today?
Really good. Just had a very relaxing weekend. Boyfriend's birthday yesterday, so I've just been chilling at home, gone for a couple of dog walks, and we've got a 8-month-old puppy who is going through those teenage years of disrespecting his mother, but we've had a bit of a breakthrough yesterday where he came away from 6 dogs that he hadn't met before, so really cool. It was quite good, and yeah, just he's getting a lot better, so very happy.
Okay, I'm just gonna like jump straight into it, in terms of like going back in time, let's say. Again, just answer however comfortable you feel again, just to preface this. So what was little Ruby like? Like was she like quote unquote different, as like I'm sure all trans queer people are?
So gosh, I was definitely that child. Yeah, so well, growing up, my parents never really forced me into any boxes, although I noticed in infant school there was a definite divide between boys and girls, where all the boys played football and all the girls did girly things, and I've always hated football and never really saw the point of it, and just always preferred the company of girls, like playing all of the imaginary animal games, all of that. I always loved animals, so kind of just gravitated to having friends that were girls, and then immediately I was labelled the gay boy, before anyone even really understood what that meant. I think we were like 8 or 9 maybe at that kind of time, so nobody knew anything about sexuality. I definitely didn't, but I was definitely the gay one, the girly boy, and I always took that as quite an offensive thing, because it was never meant as a positive thing. Like I've got my uncle is married to a man, and well, I've got my uncles, that sounds weird because it sounds like they're from opposite sides, but no, yeah, got uncles that are married, and so being gay has never been seen as a bad thing, but it was always thrown at me as a bad thing. So I always had in my like family life, being gay was totally fine, but then in the real world, being gay was like something I really didn't want to be. So it was like a bit of a feud in my head, but I always knew in myself then growing up, that when these stereotypes were thrown on me, it kind of didn't fit. And I was really badly bullied just throughout most of my school life for either being gay or being like quite an effeminate boy, not fitting in with everyone else, and shunned, all of that kind of stuff. But just having friends that were girls, I was always really popular with the girls just because I was not one of those boys that's just an arsehole.
I think that's universally a trans thing for like
Definitely
to be one with the girls, because what you're describing to me is very much prevalent in my, especially for like primary school, because it was a free for all, because those because I'm sure you get asked about like, oh, so when did you know when you were trans, when did you know? And I'm like, I couldn't even form my own opinions, let alone know what trans meant at such a young age. I just knew I was one of the girls, that's all. I didn't know this thing trans up until like basically the porn world, basically.
Yeah, no, exactly the same for me. Like we would always be doing the imaginary games in like I always remember the wooden wigwams in like the playground, like little hut thing, and we'd always be in there, and that would be Hogwarts, and we'd be I don't know, we'd be deciding on who's going to be who, and I would really demand, and not throw hands, but that nearly to be Hermione, and everyone was always a bit like, that doesn't really make sense, but I needed to be Hermione, and I always knew that. And whenever it was dress up, even in nursery school, I needed the fairy costume, and if anyone got that fairy costume before me, we wouldn't be friends. But everything like that, but it made sense to me, but just everyone else would kind of, my opinions were warped by society and what they were telling me was right and wrong. So it kind of, well, I just remember my mum had some older friends, and they were always concerned that I wanted to dress up like a fairy and a princess and be a princess and all of that. And they said it was just a phase, I'll grow out of it. And if I don't, he'll probably be gay. So you want to nip that in the bud, kind of thing. My mum didn't want to be that person. So she always kind of let me pick my own path, which I think also was one of the reasons why I didn't discover my dysphoria until quite a lot later, because if I'd been shoved into a box, I think I would have realised a lot sooner, but because my parents kind of let me be free and be my own person, I was just me, so it didn't really matter, that kind of thing.
I know for my story, did you, at what point, if you did you try and perform the gender that was thrown at you and assigned to you? Did you like try to be a boy?
Yeah, so I kind of got fed up of being the gay one and all of that. So I think it was about 15 I started doing a lot of protein shakes and going to the gym. I got a six-pack, all of that kind of stuff. And I got, well, as soon as I was 18, I got quite a few tattoos. I got a really big one on my chest, which I've now had laser removed, which you can't see.
Oh my God.
I know, but it was like quite a large, it would have been my whole, this kind of area, tribal tattoo. Just because I was thinking that's really masculine, let's get really like as muscly as I could. Looking back, obviously it wasn't that, you know, but it kind of did the trick-ish a little bit. But the more I did,
girlfriends?
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely, well, I've always been I'd say bisexual. I started having an attraction to men, I'd say. It kind of came out of the blue when I was about 15, but I'd always had girlfriends because I had friends that I kind of, it now says to me that I was wanting to be them. So I was kind of like, I loved them so much because I wanted to be them, but it came off as like, oh, I must fancy them. But it was like, no, I just really appreciate how this person is. I want to be like that myself, but never really understood that kind of thing.
See, I think I was platinum star gay in the terms that I never even had even a fake girlfriend, because I could never muster that.
Wow, okay.
I was just like, no, I know that I don't, but then it's just like, it like, to get to it, like it really, really like hurts. Like the power of like words and like stuff being thrown at you and being like, how could you not like girls? Are you gay? Even at primary school, like yeah, it was just like so like, and you just said, even though it was so obvious that you did not fit in, and like you just held on to it so long because you know it was wrong, either like because of your family would like disown you, or people would judge you if you gave into it. You just like held your own for so long, and I don't know why. Like,
Yeah,
I get why, just to like survive, because a lot of school life was surviving for me. Did you feel the same?
definitely. Yeah, it's just kind of like trying to go under the radar, do the like path of least resistance, that kind of thing. Definitely. Mm.
Yeah, madness.
Yeah.
I would never want to like a lot of people say they want to like go back and like especially in America, they were like, high school was the best years of my life, it was the worst years of my life.
Definitely. Yeah. I think I'd like to go back, but if I had all of the knowledge I have now, because I would transition as soon as I could. Well, yeah, going back to those Hermione days, I would be like, no, I want to grow my hair. I want to be a girl. I am Hermione. You're not telling me anything but this kind of thing, and just go from being that child
Miss
person.
fucking Granger.
Literally, yeah, definitely.
I know that you've been very, very, very transparent on YouTube, and I'll get to more of that later. But in terms of your family, I've seen videos of how close. It's just so like warming, because I've never really experienced that ever, of how close you are to your mom. Could you elaborate on that?
So my mum has been my best friend for as long as I can remember. We've been through so much together. She's had a lot of troubles with her back, so she's had quite a few back surgeries and all of that. So she's always felt, not that she's let me down as a mum, but she hasn't always been able to do the physical things that like I might have wanted to. But
yeah, because as a parent, you feel like you are the one at a certain age, up until a certain age, that you should be the one to basically help your kid grow and help them, rather than them help you.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's never quite been flipped totally that way.
Yeah, yeah.
But definitely we've just ended up spending a lot more time with each other in, yeah, just like talking and just being friends, and just my mum is just the like my best friend, and it's always been like that. My parents got divorced when I was 11, so then I lived with my mum from then. I have seen my dad, like it was on and off in the beginning, but then it's got progressively more. But yeah, just I've been with her.
Offers in like progressively more as like you distance yourself.
No, I well, when my parents got divorced, I was kind of living with my mum full time and then seeing my dad every other weekend, that kind of thing. And then we had a bit of a moment where there was a bit of tension in the family when I came out as trans. Well, not necessarily. It's a really awkward, long story, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But yeah, there was a bit of a. So I kind of distanced myself from my dad, as in just to not create him any issues, that kind of thing, because I love my dad. He's never had a problem with me, but me being trans, I could feel was a little bit difficult sometimes, even though he loves me, you know. So I kind of, when I went to uni, I was
And I
kind of
feel like that's like a lot of things with like male figures, well, parental figures, where they have such a pride in like their boy, their son, and it's more of a thing of like they're letting go of that, but you need to remind them that it's still you. Basically, it's just like that thing of like, oh, it's my boy, it's my son. It's like
yeah.
an achievement.
Yeah, like my dad's never really been that kind of dad, but I think he was worried about other people's opinions a little bit too much, because it's a little bit deep. But my dad remarried a bit later, but my dad's got an older brother who's kind of been the not leader of the family, but kind of his voice is louder, and in regards to my granddad, that was the issue, is that we thought, not we, they thought that me telling my granddad that I was trans would be too much for him, and he might push him over the edge because he was so old, you know, like the shock would kill him. So when my dad remarried, I was given the ultimatum of come in a suit dressed as a boy or don't come at all. Yeah. So yeah, it was come in a suit dressed as a boy or don't come at all. And my dad never having a problem with me.
At that point, sorry, and what did you look like physically?
This was 3 years into my transition. So yeah, I'd stopped wearing wigs. My hair was quite long by then. I was wearing makeup all the time, living full time for the last 3 years. But every time I'd seen my granddad, because I wasn't allowed to tell him, I had to dress it down, put my hair up in a top knot or like, you know, or a man bun kind of thing, and just not wear makeup. And the amount of times my granddad was like, "Do you need some money for a haircut? Like, I'll get you a haircut." I'm like, no, it's fine. I'll get one eventually. Never did, obviously. But yeah, it was a bit of that kind of moment when I was given that ultimatum, but I knew it wasn't coming from my dad. So that kind of made me feel a bit of distance from my dad, that he didn't stand up for me so much. But it was his wedding, and I kind of, I knew that he's never been one for the confrontation. So I knew him feeling like he'd have to explain to people on his wedding day why I'm here, because I hadn't been allowed to just be freely me to the like outskirts of the family that really couldn't care less, really. But it wouldn't have been the right place, which kind of, it shouldn't have been left that long. It was 3 years into my full time of being trans, that kind of thing. But I thought that would come to a head when my granddad passed away, and then I'd have my freedom. But the same ultimatum was given to me with his funeral. And that's when I discovered that, yeah, so the issue wasn't with my dad, it was with my uncle and auntie, and them not wanting to have to explain to the family, not on a funeral, time and place, have some respect, that kind of thing. So yeah, I ended up going to my granddad's funeral dressed as a boy, which was it was difficult.
What does that even mean? Like,
well, yeah, no makeup, hair scraped back, kind of thing, in a suit, and the vicar. I'm really not religious at all, but the person at the front giving the speeches, all of that kind of stuff, said like to his grandson, and I was like just sat in the back, and everyone was expecting me to be in the front row, obviously, because we quite a small family, but there's me hiding at the back with my mum, like shaking with anxiety, all of that kind of stuff, and it was just awful.
I can relate to that, because I recently had like a passing of my nan. My whole situation's emotionally fucked, but in the terms of like that exact thing, that ultimatum of like present yourself as X, Y, and Z, because I come from like a Asian Bengali, to be specific, background. It was like to the point of like boiling point of like, if you show up of like in any other way but what you assigned at birth, especially to a funeral of all places, then it's just like the end of the world. However, because it was so recent, and because of my mindset I have today, I showed up as me. Like, I just didn't care. I was like, I'm coming for my grandmother, and she like saw me as this, even though I didn't really have much of a relationship with her towards the end. I just came as me because that's the me that she knew. Like, a lot of people like tend to like assume that like trans girls especially, or even trans boys, do a 360 one day, like they look like a boy one day and then they look like a girl another day. It doesn't work like that. It happens over time. It's a gradual process, and you need to trust the process. Like, it's a gradual process. So she knew me before passing as like this me, so it was like almost a disservice to her and disservice to me, because who the fuck am I coming as if not me? So so I came as me. I had my best friend of life with me to support me on that day, because all of my family members were there, who I hadn't spoke to in like such a long time. So anxiety to the max, which I'm relatably to you, especially of me like presenting this way. So it was a moment, but no, I totally feel that.
Yeah. Just the bravery in that, though. It's one thing I'll always kick myself for. It's been a recurring theme throughout my life, I think, where I've not valued people's opinions over myself, but I haven't allowed my voice to be strong enough to everyone, that, you know, that kind of thing. Like, growing up, kind of just took everything, and then kind of took like I get it from my dad. It's the like path of least resistance. Don't like confrontation in any way, so just kind of do like everything to placate everyone else, where you just really shouldn't in this life. Like, you've got your one life, live it.
Like, you just need to take it every day as it comes, and be very present in the moment. But literally, like, you only live once. that fucking YOLO shit, but like it's true. Like, like unless you believe in like reincarnation or life after, but I'm talking about being present right now. Like right now, you just need to be you authentically, and we change as people. But yeah, just embrace you. And I do hope that events to come in like in terms of like challenging ones where it's like oriented around like family or like whatever challenging ones, I do hope you find the inner courage just to represent you as you are.
Yeah, the strength has definitely progressed with my transition. So it's, yeah, well, touch wood, things like that won't ever happen again. But yeah.
In terms of I know we already like touched upon like your sorry if I'm looking there, my notes are there. In terms of like, I know you briefly touched like relationships, in terms of like love life, past relationships, any meaningful ones that you learned and grew from to be who you are today, just any?
So I have had a very, 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 very bad relationship with my own love life. So I were growing up absolutely were being bullied, all of that, having no self-esteem, and then especially going through puberty, having no self-liking, well, not liking myself, ended up going into self-hatred, and not really understanding why, because like this, like puberty age, like 13 to 16, I was a bit of a late bloomer. So around that kind of time, I didn't realise I was trans until I was 18. So I had quite a long period of not knowing my ass from my elbow, and going on from that, just yeah. So seeking validation from other people has always been my downfall, and yeah, I've been very promiscuous in my past, not really having any relationships, because dating men.
You say you were very promiscuous as your past self and your present self, as like the boy and the girl.
Very much so, yeah. So what I found that dating men was so much easier than girls, because obviously girls have feelings. No, but girls' feelings are a lot more visible, I've found, and men can be a lot more physical, and physical validation is a lot more apparent than the emotional kind of thing, because obviously it takes time to build an emotional connection, whereas physical can be instant. So me seeking that validation, I had a lot of the physical from lots of different people, just because the more people that could validate me, the more it must be, you know, like increase your sample size for valid results, like, you know, the more accurate sample, yeah, statistically speaking, the more people that were validating me, the better I would think I would feel in myself. However, that obviously wasn't the case, but I didn't see that at the time. So I didn't really have any relationships, probably mainly because there is a definite difference, well, I think so, between homosexual men and heterosexual men. You don't want to be stereotyping that kind of thing, but I have noticed there is a difference, and I never really.
Don't elaborate. What differences?
Well, just like the whole gay scene, just the whole. It's. I don't really know. That's probably being really generalistic and stereotyping, but it's probably internalized.
I know that you're not like you're a very, in my opinion, you're a very thoughtful person. So whatever you think is just like your opinion at the end of the day. So long as it's like obviously not hurtful or like damaging, but whatever you think, it's still your opinion. If you want.
I'm putting my foot in my mouth so much, but I think it's more probably internalized homophobia. That's another thing with me, is a lot of internalized homophobia and transphobia. So even though like I love my uncles to bits, being gay to me was a bit of a kind of. So I think.
Can I just say, your facial expressions are one of the best things of life. Like, I remember, I'm like jumping ahead of myself, but I do remember a particular comment on one of your YouTube videos that you made, and the top comment was, "This girl makes so many facial expressions in one, like in even like a little minute and it's amazing. Like, honestly, it's just the best. Full of life.
Yeah, no Botox. Yeah, but oh god, yeah, I think it was just me and myself not wanting to be gay, just because I've been bullied for it so long that it just didn't feel right. But it didn't feel right in the sense of I knew I wasn't meant to be a man dating a man in my own body, that kind of thing.
Did you present feminine?
You could tell. Yeah, but not particularly. Well, I had a girlfriend when I was 17, so it was kind of like I was the sensitive boy, I'd say. It wasn't like I've never been camp. Being camp was quite annoying to me. I've just never been the yas queen kind of, well, I can be now, but not.
It's just like hindsight is such a
yeah. Yeah, I was so conscious though of being like people bullying me that it was just kind of the path of less resistance again. So by me not being so camp and being a little bit more, I kind of got away with it a bit more. So what I was doing in bed, that's my business, but other people didn't really need to know. Yeah, that kind of thing.
I know it's going to be like a bit like intrusive. Again, you can stop just however much you want to go through, but like in terms of being physical with a girl, did you encourage the girl to play with your ass?
No, no. Yeah, no. No, it was very much of a not one-sided thing, but I was more about making her happy than me being made happy in that, if you know.
No,
so yeah. She thought I had amazing stamina. I thought I did at the same time because like she'd be having multiple and I'd be still not finished a couple of hours later. Didn't really connect that to I'm not totally attracted to women like that. It's got there now, but it's definitely
it's gotten to the point where you have to reprogram yourself and not see yourself as what society depicts, to fully blossom and like love the same gender as you are that gender. You can't love it as a boy, you can love it as a girl and like fully embrace it. It's just reprogramming. It's like reprogramming down there to figuring out how to it does make sense, because at the end of the day it was a performance. That's all I can just like boil it down to. Even though I had the shittest performance of life, it was a performance. Do you have any practices, rituals, faiths? Are you an atheist? Are you what do you believe in? What do you do? Nothing.
I'm not religious, but I'm very much the kind of person that buries myself into other things to just
distract.
Distract and then deal with it at a later date, that kind of thing. It's why I've been so awful with my YouTube, because I've been on my journey and I've always wanted to like document every single step of the journey, but every single step of the journey has had its difficult parts, and in that moment I can't deal with it. So I can't be making videos about that when it is that raw, because even just talking to you where I would say I'm relaxed, but I'm sat here and I'm shaking, and it's just like not these repressed memories and all of that, like the ghost of my past, but it is all, there's so much emotion that has accumulated over time that I'm processing now from years ago. And just the anxiety that's come with like the whole transition and everything, that I'm just sat here and I'm literally shaking, and I can feel it, but totally fine at the same time. It's so weird, but
it's an out of body experience. Like you're present but not. It's like associating almost, like it's like you're speaking and then it's like whoa, like it's kind of trippy. And revisiting things, especially if you've not healed or processed from them, like I still applaud you for talking about it, like even currently now. So yeah, there's that. In terms of like overall mental health, have you sought any professional help, or do you not want that?
So when I started transitioning, which was 8 years ago, I was 18. Can't do the maths in my head this quickly. But
maths for shit. I'm surprised.
A few years ago. It was a while ago now. But I was under the impression that if I ever said I was struggling with my mental health, it would be as a detriment to my medical transition.
Nobody quote anything that we're saying.
No.
I still have to like figure it out for myself, because I've not yet had hormones or anything yet, which is still pissing me off, but everyone's in the same boat.
But just going back to what you said, definitely I did think that if I was to ever bring up my mental health and it wasn't, I'm doing absolutely perfectly, I'm functioning in society, I've got a job, I've got friends, I've got family, I'm doing well, I just want to transition. If it was anything but that, I thought it would have a negative impact and they wouldn't help me as much. And they'd more shush me over to maybe get some counselling, maybe talk about your feelings, maybe transitioning isn't the right thing for you, maybe you might have other issues going on, which we probably all do. You know, it's like the mental health thing is very complex, like repressed trauma from younger years or whatever, even just like the puberty, teenage years and all of those encounters that I've had weren't all positive. That's fucked me up, and excuse my French, screwed me up in its own way. So if I had just been totally open about my mental health, I probably would have been told to go get some counselling, antidepressants, all of that kind of stuff, anti-anxieties, all of that kind of stuff, and then maybe think about transitioning when you've got everything else sorted, because obviously transitioning is a big thing, but I knew I needed to transition, otherwise I wouldn't have long left. So it was a definite, my mental health is totally fine. Yeah, I just want to transition. That's it, really. As soon as I realised I wanted to transition, everything in my life made sense. So it was all of the growing up, not understanding myself, and then the teenage years of trying to seek validation and hating my body. I realised why. So it's like, as soon as I was given that information, it was it needs to happen now, because this is everything that's come together. It all makes sense. I need to do this. But at the same time, because it wasn't that, and I was still living how I was, that gave me a lot of depression. And it was almost like, this is the reason why you're depressed, so it intensified it almost. So even though I was saying I was totally fine in my head mentally, I was probably the worst I'd ever been. It kind of got to the point, yeah. But at that point, when I was seeing the doctors, I was always already living full time. So as soon as I realised I was trans, I was doing drag at first as a Halloween thing, and then it started becoming a lot more regular. And then as soon as I
actually completely forgot to ask you, how did you come out?
Oh yeah,
my gosh, I can't believe that.
Yeah, so it was, I got onto watching RuPaul's Drag Race at season 6, so like Adore and all of them. Yeah, so I really just wanted to be a drag queen for Halloween, just because I thought, sod it, that's brilliant. Yeah, so I wanted to do that. So yeah, Halloween, I was a slutty devil, and had a corset, wig, and like 9-inch boots. So crazy. I've practiced walking in them for quite a while, but did it. Went to quite a well-known club, big club, and it was so busy on Halloween that they were hand-picking out of the queue who comes in and who doesn't, and they were only letting in girls, and they were hand-picking obviously, as they do, the most beautiful, and they selected me. And I was like, I need to bring my friends, obviously. But it was straight away, like, I've been fortunate enough, well, kind of, I was a pretty boy, so it was very easy. And because I hadn't, I hadn't got facial hair or anything like that, so I still had quite a cute face, because I developed so late in with puberty. I was very, very late, so I still looked very young. So yeah, it was quite easy to have that cute face, to then put some makeup on it, put a wig on, and be a cute girl quite easily.
Because like with I find with a lot of trans people, not all but a lot, tend to like almost defy nature. Like, you are so meant to be the woman that you are. Even your body like is like showing it, and you're like not even like going down your assigned gender, birth, sex, whatever, and your body's even almost rejecting it. Because I know for me that like it's like kind of like a joke that people say to me, like they're like really shocked I'm either not on hormones, and then they're like, how much more girl can you be, even though this isn't a compliment, but how much more girl can you be when you're on hormones? You're much more of a girl than me, like in physical attributes. And it's just mind-boggling for me to know that I'm so fortunate in having passing privilege that that I'm just really like lucky and grateful to like naturally pass. Like, they were labeling me before I even labeled myself.
Yeah, because I think that has made it so much easier to not have the backlash from society. Obviously, you do when, like, because I'm so open about being trans on the internet, I get a lot of backlash from that. But I've never once really gone out in public and had someone say something negative, unless I've been very, very drunk and haven't been the most ladylike. Because I speak about so many wide topics, I've probably said every word in the English language, probably not, got limited vocabulary, but enough that someone could edit my speech patterns together and say whatever they wanted to.
I think that's like I'm gonna segue from, just briefly again, as I do. I'm like a tree, branches everywhere. I think, again, like mentioning my spirituality and my journey, and I wanted this podcast just to like focus around that as well. Like the media, it's just I'm just so like against it, and cyberbullying is a thing, and I'm glad you touched upon this, because I would have almost forgot that it just goes to show that we're not at the place, especially as trans women, to like be so vocal without having a backlash, or like just having our opinions, because it's always like flipped on us, because people are like, no, this isn't right, straight guys don't like you, blah 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 blah. But then when I say to them, this is my opinion, they just get so offended, because they think they're the only ones entitled to their opinion. So I just never get that concept and that thing. What is your relationship with social media? Like, do you find it toxic? Do you turn off? Do you like, I know that you have this like this, not persona, because it is you, it's you to like a heightened degree, but what is your relationship with social media?
I hate it.
Branding and marketing and all.
I really hate it. If it wasn't my job, I wouldn't be on it. Like my boyfriend isn't even on Facebook, has no social media, and his life is bliss because of it. So it's I'm so overcritical, especially transitioning with my appearance. So seeing photos and photos and photos of beautiful people, not obvious, well, some edited, some not, whatever. It just puts me under my own microscope, and I don't need that ever. And especially being in the sex work industry, it's very physically, your appearance
demanding.
Is very, oh my god, yeah, definitely. Because I'm wearing a wig right now because I cut my fringe a bit too short. I've been going out of the house, I don't care, I really could not care less, but I was like shaking, thinking, oh my god, I'm going to be on camera, I can't be like it just, you know. So it's things like this, I'm feeling I have to put this on just to feel okay, and that's not right, because I know I'm going to get judged for it. Because if it was just us, you know, you'd see me, god, like just falling out of bed, whatever. But because it's not just us, I don't know who's going to see it. I know I'm going to get ridiculed to shit, possibly, probably not, because but possibly.
We not only get ridiculed as girls, we get ridiculed even more as trans girls.
Totally.
Like we're put on like under a magnifying glass to like, no, that's a man, like it's just, I didn't glam up just for this, because I'm at a place in my life where, again, like I am seeking work in terms of like getting rid of like a 5 o'clock shadow, because from what little facial hair I can grow, I still have like problematic areas, and I'm still like very open and honest about that. However, I would have come on camera if I wanted to, not to discredit you, but if I wanted to, without all this and that on, because I truly am at a place where I really do love my face and I love me. And I do hope that you reach that euphoric place. It's a work in progress, especially as a transgender woman. But I honestly, like, even you're not even wearing that much makeup, like the bare minimum, and all I see is like a beautiful soul above all else.
Yeah, and the amount of times I've heard that, but it does not.
You can have as much words like thrown at you, but you have to believe it yourself. And it's not a race. People forget that. People think with confidence that it happens overnight. Well, people that want to actively be confident, but a life lesson I learned from, again, going back to YouTube, and that's how I discovered you again. It's just, it opened so much doors for me, and me not having any social life at a very young age, because I was so different, I was stuck at home, I was just the freak, I escaped online. So my mind was molded by YouTubers of past, and confidence to me, it was just I was just nurtured by these voices, and it's such a beautiful memory of mine to have, to know that there are content. The whole premise of why I'm doing this as well, because it's like there's like a voice to say that you can get through this, and it doesn't happen overnight. You just have to do it in steps and in small doses, and it is possible if you put the work in, because you can't be like, woe is me all the time.
No.
But you just have to actively put the work in, and sometimes faking it till you make it works, and it works for some. However, I just find that if it truly is you, you just have to like go for it and just make yourself uncomfortable momentarily, just to see that, almost prove yourself that you are capable of doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you will get to where you need to be.
Right back at you, for sure.
Little gay moment.
Okay. See you online after.
Wink, wink. If you weren't to transition, if that wasn't an option, and you succumb, because I know that's a reality for some trans people, unfortunately, not either having a support system from their blood relatives, or even a support network that they've created of their own, because none of it's an option, and they've been like shunned and told no. If you weren't to transition, do you think you'd be here sitting and talking?
Definitely not. It was like you were saying about the escapism online. I think I was probably a little bit older than you, in that I didn't have that yet. So my escapism was in the narcotic kind of side of things, especially when I was being that promiscuous. I was getting in with the wrong crowds that weren't only promiscuous, they were also promiscuous with narcotics. And I found that was my escape, and it was getting dangerous, really badly scary for me. Finding out that I was trans, and that was my light bulb moment, because like I said previously, I've never been that strong in order to say enough is enough, give the middle finger.
You've got your life to live. Yeah
that I never really found that voice, so it was kind of a oh, I think I'm trans, let's try this.
When you discovered the word trans, what stigma was built around that? What did you know of what trans was? Even at that point, I knew it was like associated with like dirty, transvestite.
But I literally thought people were just doing it for porn. And like, I know in some countries where money is hard to come by, transitioning for the financial gain can be an incentive to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, you might not be trans, but by sticking a pair of fake tits on and having sex with people for money, that is a way that you can support your family where you might never be able to.
You harnessed your transition, and that's, I found that a running theme throughout your YouTube content, where you give advice and you help people, because we're being like shit talked, yet we are one of the booming topics of this, not even just porn industry, but like of like suddenly the normal media, like trans being normalized, just but like fetishized at the same time. It's a constant battle, but you are harnessing your transition, you're making the most of it while it's just being like put in the forefront. And I really appreciate you as a person, and no matter how much trials and tribulations we've gone through, on paper we still feel the same thing.
Definitely, because I find even within the trans community, there's not conflict, but there's definite angst between those who might have it easier than those who don't. And like, it could be a pinprick to you, but to like, not a mouse, but a mouse that squished them, that kind of thing. It's all relative. But so me leaving the house when I was first starting transitioning, I didn't have the passing privilege, and I had an anxiety attack in Tesco's and had to get shushed off into the pharmacy department, just so a lady could talk to me and just calm me down, which was lovely. But for some people, they can't.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
No, fine. I'm just anxious as it is, and I was very, very much overhyped my first like leaving the house. It was literally a trip to Tesco's to get some food, but someone looked at me and I felt clocked. It's that unknown, especially back then where it isn't as acceptable as it is now. I didn't know if I was going to get killed if someone realised that kind of feeling. Obviously, it's
basically a journey of coming back home to yourself, because you're exploring the world and you're exploring femininity, and at first you leave the door and everything, and then you get thrown at like by social media, by this and that, like you've mentioned, like seeing things and like glamorous people, like stick thin models, etc., of what a woman is, and like plastered all over social media, and then just like really discovering what it means, and then coming back all the way home while trying to, of like you at your inner core, of like you without all of this and that on, the makeup, this and that, basically your inner child. I'm very big on like inner child work. And you at your purest form, like just, I think it's just like beautiful of like coming back to you. Yes, you like when you were younger, but without a care in the world, but you as a girl, because you were a girl, but you were just told otherwise.
Yeah, that's been it for me. It's the transition, it's a change. You're changing from a boy to a girl. You need to change. Whereas no, I was and I am. And it was needing to learn that for myself, because in the beginning I had a wig on, a full face of makeup, heels, clothes, all of that were stereotypical women things to do or whatever, that obviously not, but in my head, like the image of a woman, I wanted to be a beautiful woman,
hyper feminine. It was almost basically drag for us.
Doing too much. It was drag. It really was drag. Because doing my drag, I wasn't great with makeup, so it was just little things, but it was drag. Whereas stripping it all back now, I'll go on a dog walk, no makeup, no hair, boyfriend's clothes more than anything, and I've never been more of a woman. It's stripping it back and getting back to yourself, and transitioning isn't about changing yourself and changing what you are. It's about learning who you are, and yes, you might change bits of your body that might not agree with you, that kind of thing along the way, but it's way more learning about yourself. And when people see people that, like me, have finished my surgical transition and look up to me and think, God, your life must be perfect now, I'm still me in my head, and I'm still getting there with appreciating myself for me and getting back to that inner child of that person that is just me. Because all of the shit that's thrown on you from society and all of this big long transition of changing myself, actually no, I'm fine as myself, and it's just a journey of self-acceptance more than a journey of changing your body and changing everything about yourself to then be an opposite gender, whereas you're literally you, and just anything that decorates it is irrelevant, really.
Be very hyper aware of it. And it is unfortunate that this is what attracts people, but what I find is that you need to have substance and sustenance. You need to have a message behind that pretty face, because beauty fades. And
that's it.
What message are you trying to like convey?
We're almost spoon-fed a transition journey that might not always be meant for us, if that makes sense. Like, yes, you want to elevate yourself and decorate yourself to make yourself more not appealing, but to fit in with society a bit more.
Yeah, digestible.
That's it, to be more digestible. So you're almost spoon-fed this journey of what a woman is and what it means to be a woman, and if you want to be a woman you need to do these things. And I'm telling you, from someone that has reached that end point, it's not the one. And that will be an eventual YouTube video, possibly, if I'll get there. I want to get there eventually, but work on yourself and spend as much time as you can in your head processing things before you change your body, because you never know. That, like your inner child, without crying, my inner child would never dream of doing the things I've done to my body. Do you know what I mean? And if I was Hermione at the age of year six, like age of 6, being appreciated and being me, I'd probably be a totally different person, if that makes sense. And where I am now wouldn't change a thing in the world. But I feel very much now seeing the younger Gen Z, the younger generation, coming up and being not appreciated, but walking through life with a middle finger up to the world, being perfect as they are as a person. I'm a woman, appreciate me as I am, take me as I am or don't take me at all, kind of thing. Not feeling like they need to change themselves so much in order to fit in with people that don't care about them.
Yeah, there's so much longevity in the line of work that you do anyway. Yeah. However, I get what you mean of like showing the real you could be a possible hindrance, unfortunately.
Definitely, because people come to my chat room for the fantasy that I provide. They don't want to know my mental health history. They don't want to know about my depression. They don't want to know all of those things, you know. But by me putting it out there on YouTube with the same name, people have seen those videos before they've come to my chat room. So they come to my chat room with that information and start talking about things that might be in my YouTube that I really don't want them to be talking about when I'm working.
Where I never used to think this way, but suddenly I'm just thinking this way, like in little like waves of like, if I potentially go out with this guy, he could kill me for being me. Yeah. So why do you think it's important for us to like normalize being trans?
That is literally it. It's not. People are thinking we are shoving it in their faces and trying to change people's views of, like, say, straight men. If they don't want to date someone with a penis, that's transphobic. That's bollocks. We're not trying to change people's preferences and views. You are what you are. You like what you like, but just don't kill people for being who they are. Literally just that, putting it bluntly. We don't want, like, okay, I'm a trans woman, I'm a woman, I identify as like a bit bisexual, but mainly straight, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for a straight man to find me attractive, that's okay. Like, if I had a penis, I'd understand if I wasn't quite your thing, because I don't have the genitals that you like, fine. But when I've got a vagina, bit different, I think, a little bit, but not. But it's still preference. Like, okay, I can't give you biological children, that's your preference then. Yeah. Fine. But I'm still a person, you know. Just because I'm not the person you want or blah blah blah, I'm still a person, like that. And we just need to normalize it so that people stop getting killed for existing. Like,
I think you've done me the world of favors of like,
right back at you.
Any parting words on like for potential people on the cusp of transitioning or thinking about it? What would you want to say?
Luckily, we are now, depending obviously on where you are, speaking from someone in Britain with a very closed little bubble that is my existence, saying that don't care what people are going to think, go out and live your truth. If you're scared to transition, just do it. You can never transition too soon. Just do it for yourself, be happy. Obviously, if you can get arrested and murdered for doing that, don't do that, potentially. If you can do it, just do it. Yes, I've lost a couple of family members that didn't agree along the way, but if they're not agreeing with me, not saying like, if you don't believe what I believe, you don't deserve to be around me, not that, but if you are meant to be someone that is supporting me and you can't, don't feel bad for not being able to, but don't expect me to continue putting myself in that environment, if that makes sense. You need
subjecting yourself to more hurt.
That's it. It's just have people to talk to, find people that are similar to you so that you can have the shared experiences. Like, I know we've got so much in common and I don't really even know you know what I mean? But I so do.
Yes.
Yeah. So find people like that so you're not doing it on your own. You don't need to follow anyone. Don't follow anyone, obviously, in their journey. Find it out for yourself.
Don't idolize anyone, but it's good to have advice.
Yeah.
But take everything with a pinch of salt as well.
What does a woman look like? There are women, biological women, that I would think, you know what I mean, there are less passable naturally born women than I am at passing as a woman, and so what does that even mean? So passing needs to go in the bin.
Yes,
for sure, definitely. But when it is the thing that is seen to give you the safety, it's what's clung to from us, but not only forced into us by society, because oh, I can see you've got a really strong jawline, you've got a bit of an Adam's apple going on, I can see you're a boy, that kind of thing. So you want to pass, you really want to pass, but it really does nothing. Me being Hermione in the wigwam, didn't care that I might have had an Adam's apple, whatever's going down there. I was me, I was happy. It's the outside shit that's thrown at you, just don't let it stick. That's it.
And I really appreciate how you've just said that, and you just literally brought it back to just honing in on yourself and what really truly actually just like sparks joy for you. Just like this and that spark joy for you. And I think that's the premise of like transitioning and finding out what works for you and really thinking about it like a tattoo. Thinking about it. Think about it. Think about all these choices. I'm appreciative of you and your time and you as a human being. I'm really appreciative, and I can tell already that we'd be great friends.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Just final words. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Oh my god. I'm usually told that on a different website. Oh god. If you want anything to do with my transition, like I've said, it is sugar coated, so please know that there is so much more dark stuff that I will get into, but I've shared most of like the objective. I've tried to be as objective as possible, because nothing is a lie on my YouTube whatsoever, but I've given more positives, not than I should have, but there is an equal and opposite negative. So take it with the pinch of salt that it is my journey. It's all my truth, but I need to give it more from the negative side eventually when I get the strength and I just need to do it. But there's more. But I'm here, I'm alive, I'm happy. So know that at the same time. But yeah, my YouTube is just my name, Ruby Fiera. Search that up if you want my journey, all of my surgeries, vocal surgeries. I've had both that you can have, boobs, vagina, that's it. But yeah, that is that, and I think I'll leave everything else up to the people that want to find it.
So I thank you guys so much for watching my first episode of Loving Me, Loving You. I really think this title encompasses what the kind of message basically I want to get across. If you can't love yourself, as RuPaul says, how are you going to love somebody else?
Can I get an amen?
No, but again, thank you, Ruby Fiera, and I will link everything to do with her in the description. And yeah, this will be accessible to all platforms. Go share some love to Ruby, and stay tuned for episode 2.
Thank you for having me. Lots of love to you. Thank you for this.